Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl, Dr. Rhonda M. Lawson, and I am back with another episode of the Horizons Author Lounge. And with me tonight is Mr. Curtis Hall, who's going to be taking part in a very special event in in Richmond, Virginia. It's a
Mhm.
men's health seminar, and this is so important. I'm actually driving to Richmond myself so I can be a part of the event. But I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Curtis because I want him to let you all know all about it and what this event is all about and why it's so important and why you need to get your tickets.
Okay, well,
So,
thank you,
Mr. Curtis, can you
thank you, Dr. Rhonda. Thank you for first of all sharing this platform, and I'd like to thank Sister Pam Coleman, who's actually the host of the event. So the Men's Health Seminar will be taking place June 10th in Charlottesville from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's basically centered on holistic wellness of our brothers, our men, from the internal to the external, and create that space where we can have that open dialogue about things that trouble us, but also things that bring us joy in a relaxed environment, and walk away from with some strategies and tools to take forward into our lives as husbands, fathers, mentors, professionals, and every facet. In short,
Okay, that's beautiful. You're going to be one of the speakers for the event, is that correct?
yes, yes. I have the pleasure of being one of the panelists, and particularly, I'll be coming from the mindset of dealing with growth and also development. Just a little bit about me. I'm a life coach that work with young men ages 12 to 18, but have worked with men as well. So I've been in space for about 23 years, originally from Philadelphia, and mentorship has just been pivotal in my life in terms of bringing me along as a man. Now, as a husband, a father, and a professional, but even earlier on in my early teenage years on to early adulthood. So definitely appreciate the value of mentorship and coaching.
Okay, and we're having a little bit of sound difficulty. Not exactly sure what the culprit is, but we're going to keep charging forward. Um, okay, we're going to keep charging forward. So, not to worry
Yeah.
because we're always going to run this back so everybody can see it again.
hmm
But can you go ahead and repeat, please, what it is that you're going to be discussing at the Men's Health Seminar?
Oh yeah, no problem. So I'll be talking about mental health and particularly and development and forming healthy habits, whether you're talking about dealing with pain and anger, but
Can you
also
hear
how
me?
yes, I can hear you. I can hear you fine. Can you hear me? I'm not you should be here. I'm not
Okay,
on
I
mute.
think we're having some.
I'm not sure. Dr. Rhonda, can you hear me now?
Um, I heard you. I heard you, but the sound was really, really, really bad.
Oh,
So okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, that's much, much better. Okay, I don't know what was going on that one.
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay, so let's start over again. So sorry everybody. You know how it is when you're doing these live shows. Sometimes you have some technical difficulties along the way. But thank
hmm
you very much for bearing with us, and thank you, Mr. Curtis, for still being a part of the show. So
Yes.
if you can let's start over, and if you can tell us what the men's health seminar is and then what you're going to be doing there.
Okay, so thank you once again. So the Men's Health Seminar that'll be held June 10th in Charlottesville, Virginia, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. is centered on creating a space where men can have an open dialogue about their challenges, but also sharing the successful strategies that they use. So we're basically getting together to sharpen iron. And I'm so grateful to Miss Pamela Coleman for putting this awesome event together and having a diverse, experienced panel to be able to speak and knowing that what is said will edify and resonate with someone there or plenty so they can take it forward in respective lives. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, some people might think that it's a little unusual that it's a woman who's hosting this event. Were
Mhm.
you surprised at first when she came to you with this idea?
Oh, actually, I wasn't, and I think I attribute that to my background. Being raised by my mother and grandmother, I've had strong women around me that help mold me and guide me. So, and realizing in a total transparency, just being honest, unfortunately, it's not a lot of us men out here to do the work. So,
Mm,
you all have been really great and gracious about picking up the load and creating platforms. So, very grateful to Sister Pam because while she is a woman. I know it got to be some trepidation in terms of stepping into this space. So I thank her for her willingness to step out there.
absolutely. And now, you said you're going to be one of the panelists.
Yes, I'll be the panelist, and I'll be talking about mental health and particularly communication skills, both from a parent to child perspective as well as relationship, and not just intimate but friends as well. Because healthy relationships are key and paramount. Because we weren't made to be in isolation; we're made to be in fellowship. So that's
Yeah.
very key.
That's a great point, and I love what you said. We're not made to be in isolation, and unfortunately, with the pandemic,
Hmm.
people have grown used to being isolated. I mean, sometimes I get to the point where I just don't feel like going anywhere anymore. Um,
Hmm.
where I'll not go just because I just don't feel like getting ready to go. And so I think this event is coming at a great time to help people break free of that.
Yes, yes, it is, and I believe, and especially in my encounters with men, it's a yearning for us to come together. And I tell you, being on this side, a lot of times that we don't get together as men is because we don't trust each other. There's
Mm,
a lot of competition with us because unfortunately we've been pigeonholed to being competitive for attention for anything we want, as in contrast to being vulnerable and open. Realize there's enough space for all of us to be ourselves.
yeah,
So that's very important. I can be Curtis, he can be who he is, and not, and us being our full selves doesn't have to undercut the other.
wonderful, wonderful. Now, do you know some of the other men who are going to be a part of this event?
No, I do not, and I'm excited about that. So this will be some kindred spirits that I'll be coming in contact with for the first time.
Well, that's going to be good. I mean, a lot of men coming together and meeting for the very first time and sharing. Is this
Mhm.
something that men are used to doing? Being, coming together and sharing with people that they don't know?
I would say probably in pockets. Some are fairly familiar with it, but in general, I still think not as much as we need to be because oftentimes when we come together and as a collective, it's really not sharing to the depth and the profundity that we need to because of those things around trust and competition. So this is one of the safe spaces that we're creating and to make sure we can harness that healthy dialogue.
What do you hope to achieve?
What I hope to achieve is one, first of all, to learn something from one of my other brothers, plenty of them, but also pour into someone. So
Yes.
I anticipate being able to pour into someone and being poured into, and that's coming to walking away transformed men for the better, however that may look. Me particularly, when I get back home, I expect to be a better Curtis for myself, as well as for my wife and our daughters, and in every other aspect.
Mm. Now, is that what it? I'm trying to think of the best way to word this because I don't want it to sound trite, but I'm wondering is that what it takes to just be able to share with other people and have them find out that we're not by ourselves.
Hmm. Hmm. Sometimes that's what it takes. It just is really comforting to know, okay, I'm not the only one that's going through this particular experience or have lived this experience. Because once again, going back to the isolation piece, when you don't have that around, you could really think sometimes based on how traumatic it is, you could think you're going crazy. and really start to question yourself. So having someone there who is in a cognitive right mind that could give you some reprieve and say, you know what, okay, I can see a little bit of light peeking through the window.
Yes. Now you work with teenagers. You do a lot of teen mentoring.
Hmm.
You find that young men are going through the same thing?
Yes, yes. It's definitely some scarcity in terms of young men having space because one, they don't have a lot of times, unfortunately, don't have the model in the household, which I can totally empathize with being raised by two women. And then there's so much they're being faced with. And let's just call it what it is. A lot of us are still financially challenged, and we're in certain situations where survival trumps being able to be well, if that makes sense.
Mm,
So when you're focused on bills, keeping the light on, getting food, you're not worried about processing emotions other than satiating your hunger or getting something to help your immediate loved ones. So this is one of those things that, and we have a responsibility, us being older men, to be in the position, but a lot of times we can't because we haven't been schooled ourselves or reared ourselves, if that makes sense. So we need to parent ourselves in order to be parents to those young men coming up after us.
well, that's I guess in a way it's a scary thing because especially when we see the so-called battle between the sexes, where women are saying that the men don't understand, the men are saying the women don't understand, and often it's because we haven't come together and talked, or we've had certain hurts as young people that we really haven't fully resolved yet, and
Hmm.
we're bringing it into adulthood.
Yes, yes. Yes, that is unfortunate, but it's something that could be negotiated and helped along. Now, in total transparency, not stepping in anybody's faith, but I'm a believer, so I believe God's grace is a big part of it, and prayer, as well as professional help and counseling and therapy. I think it's an amalgamation of all those things because we're complex beings. So there's no one solution, no cookie cutter. We need a couple of different streams of some fresh well, some fresh oil coming in to help us work through these times. But yeah, going back to your point, Dr. Rhonda, we're not communicating because ba- I'm hurting for one thing, but if I'm not communicating it, there's room now for the person who I'm in proximity to develop a whole another scenario in their head because I'm not communicating, and they don't want to ask because they're looking at my body language. So now we're sitting there pitted against each other, and we really don't have no beef. But all this is just based on observation. But we really just need to communicate and ask questions. And I think part of the reason sometimes is because, at least for men, we feel sometimes we're expected to know the answer, and
Hmm.
it's okay not to know the answer.
And it's okay to say you don't know. I think that's
Yes.
a hard statement for a lot of people, men or women, is saying I don't know.
Hmm. I'll be honest, I have two beautiful daughters, and they're evolving. They're 12, and I always just turned 14. But I gotta ask probing questions. What's going on? Just
Mm,
because I live in the same house, they're different. Just like I wake up with different courtesies days. So it really is very humbling when you think about it. Because I'm like, this is my family, let alone the brothers and sisters that I meet, outside in our community.
mm, good point. Good point. Now tell me about your company.
So, New College Solutions initially was birthed in 2018 out of the concept of growing your own, in terms of pairing young men of color with entrepreneurs of color. But I'll be honest, that came out as kind of a comfort zone because I'm a strategic advisor, logistics guy by trade, former military. So some of that was part self satisfying, but when I got into dealing with young men even further, it was like we had to peel back some layers. We can't focus on these vocations. We start dealing with the mentality, psychology, and the spiritual and emotional components. So
Yeah.
that's when I said, got by myself, talked to my wife, and just really revamp. Okay, what's going to make us? What's going to make me rather get up and do this at 3 in the morning? And when she posed that, it was like pointing to these young men from the internal to the external. So that's what New College Solutions is about, helping them emerge to be the best selves on purpose and realize it's okay to fail up and then take calculated risks and,
Yes.
and seeking growth.
So what ages do you work with?
Ages 12 through 18, but I will say I do work with young men as well. Member of St. Paul's, and even before that, but not to be too verbose, I work with men as old as 55, but definitely in between your mid 20s to mid 30s. I don't mind saying I don't know how old people think I am, but I'm 45 years old. So retired military. I think the Lord has kept me pretty good. But I have a wealth of experience to share, but also just have empathy. Sometimes they don't even take to say anything; just there to listen is the best first step. Just to listen.
Amen. And I think that's a thing that we all do. There's a saying that we often don't listen to understand, we listen to respond.
Hmm.
And when we're listening to respond, we're not actually listening. We might be hearing, but we're not
Hmm.
listening. We're just listening for key words so we can jump back in.
Yeah, we got to really actively listen, and then it's okay to say, you know what, Dr. Rhonda, Sister Rhonda, did you mean X, Y, and Z by this when you said this? Because I may not get the message as received, and I have to be intentional about it. And that's the one thing in terms of strategies going to what we take away, learning how to recognize those kindred spirits that are there to give. Anybody that God puts in your life or whoever, however your spirituality guides you that shows up and they're there to impart and give, that's who we keep around because those are far and few to really see you want to win and they have no attachment to it other than to show you love and respect.
Wonderful. So, where can we get in touch with you? How can we connect?
So folks can connect with me on New College Solutions on Instagram, Facebook. That's New College Solutions LLC. I'm on all platforms: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and I'm on there. And I also have my website that can be shared as well. And I respond usually 24 to 48 hours. I do work with virtual clients as well as here in Central Virginia, and definitely open to other community partners as well to better serve our youth. Because I do believe in collaboration. Because we don't need to operate in a vacuum or in a silo. It really takes all of us to support to our young men and our young women.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I am posting your website in the chat for anybody who may want to reach out to you. Um,
Thank you.
because I'm glad that you mentioned that you work with people virtually. So somebody who, let's say, is in Maryland or Texas
Hmm.
or Louisiana, what have you, they'd be able to reach out to you and work with you as well.
Yes, I have the pleasure of having a young man that I coach. He lives in New Orleans. He's a
Oh,
ninth grader, and we have one-on-one sessions. And so it's been great and a blessing to be able to pour it. And I have built a wonderful rapport with his mother and his stepfather as well. So definitely.
so speaking of that, do you find that many of the young men that you work with are from single parent homes?
Most of the time, but there are those young men that do have two parents. Like this young gentleman, he does have two parents in his home, but they're blended family. So we know that's another dynamic. And while it can be challenging, it's very rewarding as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, and I'm sorry.
now I saw Sister Pam Coleman, so just giving a shout out to her. I just saw her pop up.
Yes, yes. Um, I do want to thank Sister Pam for what she's doing because, like I
Yes,
said, it's a huge undertaking to host an event, but to host an event where you are not the target audience is something totally different. So I give kudos to Pam and to all of the men who recognized her vision and wanted to work with her on this because
yes,
I think you're going to be able to reach a lot of people.
yes, yes, yes. It definitely is. And this space, like I say, it keeps you humble. And we had to really go back to what you said, Dr. Round, about listening. We really have to keen ear to make sure we hear our young folks' voice. Because a lot of times they had the gifts right inside of them. It's just a matter of being encouraged and inspired to unearth that.
Very true. Very true. Now, going back to the event, what are we only talking mental and spiritual health, or are we also talking physical health as well at this
Yes,
event?
yes, yes. Emotional and physical health will be in the discussion as well. Looking at the whole entire being in terms of what can we do to make ourselves better, and look at what making choices that serve us best in terms of allowing us to operate at optimal levels.
Okay. Now, how can we get tickets to this event?
So, Men's Health Seminar, you can go on Eventbrite. If you just type in Men's Health Seminar in Virginia, particularly, it'll come up June 10th. It'll come there, and Sister Pamela Coleman's name is there. So Men's Health Seminar on Eventbrite in Central Virginia. You search it, it will come up, and you'll see the prompt that'll lead you to purchasing your tickets as well.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask Miss Pam, since she's on right now, and she also said that everyone is welcome, both men and women, which is good because we as women have to be able to support our men, and we can't tell them you need to do this, this, and this if one, we're not doing it with them, and then two, if we're not giving them the tools to know how to do it.
Yes.
Sometimes we're telling our men, I wish you would do this. You really need to be doing that. And maybe they don't have the capacity or the tools to do it.
That's an excellent point you bring up, Dr. Rhonda, and I'm gonna be a little bit transparent here. I had an estranged relationship with my father, for a plethora of reasons that we could, if you want to learn later, I could tell you. But bottom line is, what I realized, he didn't have the capacity to give and the know-how. So when I learned that, I say, you know what, God, this is where grace comes in. And I had to be content with that peace, realizing what I was seeking, I wasn't going to get for him. And
Mm,
God didn't mean for me to get it for him. That's why other people were placed in my life. But in my mind, I wanted that father figure. Now I have it, but it wasn't who I wanted it to be. So that's a lot of consternation when you're young growing up, especially when you have young men who know your father and their perception of him like, oh, Mr. Such and Such is cool. I don't know that guy because he don't come around me, but you know him and he endears you. So that's a whole nother thing right there. Now going back to what you talk about or what I share with men in competition. Do I compete with other young men for my father's love? Which I shouldn't have to, but that's what I felt like.
wow.
So this is my own trauma that I'm dealing with, and God has brought me to, because just not too long ago I couldn't talk about this. Couldn't talk about this at all. And I thank God I had the peace to come forward, and I saw him before he passed on, and I have no regrets.
Thank you for sharing that.
Hmm.
I mean, I think these are the types of stories that other men need to hear so they know that they're not alone. And if for
Hmm.
women to hear, because it helps them to understand their men better. And I know
Hmm.
that there are a number of men who are watching the show right now. So if you would like to share or comment, go right ahead and put your comments in the chat and we'll blast them on the screen so everybody can see them. This is what we do. So I'm going to put my little banner up because I want you all to like, share, comment, and subscribe.
Yes, 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 yes.
Now, Miss Pam or Miss Corinthia, if you can put in the comments the link to where people can find tickets to the event, that would be wonderful. So, because I don't want to knock us offline like I might have done earlier tonight.
Yeah,
But I like what Pam said that this will be a safe zone. Um,
yes.
I put on my TikTok yesterday, or
Hmm.
yeah, I think it was yesterday, um, where I said I wonder if we allow people to have a safe space to be fully transparent with our friends and loved ones. And sometimes when we at least with as women, and if it happens with men, I really want to know. But first of all, if I'm sharing with you and I'm telling you that I'm hurting about something, one, I don't want you to give me unsolicited advice. Maybe I just want to talk. Two, I don't want you thinking that I'm being shady against somebody when maybe all I'm doing is just trying to vent and tell my own truth. It just happens to involve someone else, but it doesn't mean that I hate this person, and it doesn't mean that this is your open gate to start trashing the person. And then often, if we are hurt, then people will say, "I can't believe that you're bothered by this." Why?
Mm,
It's like they're coming down on us for being bothered or for having feelings. So often what happens is because we don't want to be judged, we don't want to be talked down to, we keep all of it inside. And then when we keep it inside, it winds up manifesting itself in unhealthy ways. Maybe
mm,
we blast on somebody, or maybe we start drinking, or maybe we start having emotional issues. And it just became in vogue to get therapy, But before we really started having that conversation about therapy, really we had nobody to turn to. So we kept it all inside and didn't talk to anybody because we didn't want to be embarrassed.
Mhm. Wow. I mean, Brother Brockington, we may have secure safe space, be transparent. We'll see more for that person. They know they can trust you, and therefore work harder, betray, but therefore they will work harder to betray that trust.
They know
Okay.
they can trust you and they work harder not to betray that
Not, yeah,
trust.
not to, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, thank you, Brother Brockington. Uh, you unpacked a lot there, Dr. Rhonda, in terms of the optics when you're looking to be vulnerable, but the unsolicited advice, that's a big one. Like, who told you to write a prescription? Like, that's how it is. And even with our kids, my wife was on the panel. We both went to Teen Summit some time ago here in Central Virginia, but she made an excellent point in terms of when a young person tell you something, you can ask them, do you just want me to hear you, or do you want some input? And we even do that in our marriage,
Hmm.
because sometimes you just want to be heard. Like, I don't necessarily got feel like I gotta fix everything, you know. So, but no unsolicited, unneeded pressure, and then the judgment piece, yeah, as well. In terms of now they want to beat down somebody, or just it gets perverted when it's really just want to be a safe space because it's strength and vulnerability. I just got to the place where I could tell folks about my mother's station from both a man and a woman, and how that caused me to wrestle if what my sexuality was going to be, you know, and then now being secure in that. And that's not to throw shade nobody else, but this was my own idiosyncratic journey that I
Yeah,
had to deal with, that God
me
brought me through.
too. Yes. I think, I mean, when you mentioned the sexuality part, where I think some young men did not want to show emotion because they didn't want to be accused of something that maybe they weren't, or made to feel bad if that's what they were.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
that's a huge point right there. So this sounds like this is going to be a great event, and I still don't see a link, Miss Pam.
Yeah, gotta get the link out there.
So let me see if I can find a link because I really need people to be a part of this event. So where
Yes.
is it?
Yes. But so glad that Sister Pam, the Lord laid on my heart to open it to men and women. If it's okay, I know we conversed briefly, but if it's okay, Dr. Ron, I'd like to say a quick prayer, if that's all right.
Sure, go right ahead.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for blessing us with this platform. We thank you for Dr. Rhonda. We thank you for the wonderful folks who are joining us. And Lord God, we pray for the edification, Lord God, into perpetuity for folks that listen now and who will come into touch with those who may have listened or even just got word about it. We know that you have no limits, no bounds, no parameters, but you're infinite and wise. So please continue to allow us to decrease as you increase. And Lord God, continue to touch us so that it's fellowship and love, commitment, respect, and dignity as you have ordained that we may expand your kingdom. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay. Corinthia says she posted the link. I missed it. I'm sorry. I'm fussing at y'all for no reason. I didn't see the link, but I posted it as well. And I am also going to, there it is right there,
Hmm.
the link. So what I'm also going to do is I'm gonna see if I can put it on a banner so people can see it. But what we are talking about, she gave me a like, okay. What we are talking about is the Men's Health Seminar that is going to be taking place in Richmond, Virginia on June 10th. And if you would like to attend this event, there is a cost. It's not a very expensive cost. Thank you. I love you too, Miss Dr. Miller. It's not a very expensive cost, but I put the link is right here on the screen. So if you are in the Richmond, Virginia area, this will be an absolutely amazing opportunity to be a part of this and to share with some other men and women. Now, all of the panels are going to be male centered, or the only men on the panels. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, that's what I understand from Sister Pam. Yes, can I make one alibi? It's in Charlottesville. You said Richmond. I know probably was just
I apologize. It's in
yeah.
Charlottesville. I thought it was in Richmond, so I
Okay,
apologize.
no
Don't
problem.
don't go to Richmond. Don't, don't go to Richmond. We're going to Charlottesville. Charlottesville, Virginia. Look, okay, y'all. It's in Charlottesville. Y'all jumping on me.
It's all love. It's all love.
Yeah, so we really want you all there. If you were in the Charlottesville area, um, make sure that you attend this event because this is something that we all need. And oh, Pam said we can go to Richmond afterward.
For the after party.
Yeah, the after in Richmond. Okay, so yes, it is in Charlottesville. It's on June 10th. It is going to be, there are going to be panel discussions. There are going to be a couple of vendors.
Hmm.
And oh, there are no women on the panel. So this is going to be a fully male-centered discussion, which is a great thing.
Hmm. But as you point out, it definitely. Oh, there is a female on the panel. Dr. Miller
Oh,
said
there
it. So
is
thank.
on the
Yeah,
panel. Okay.
thank you. Thank. I wasn't sure.
Um,
So that's awesome. But
So
back to your point, Dr. Riley. Yeah, we need each other. There's a
yes,
chance for us to strengthen each other.
and no, and you're right. You're absolutely right on that. So yeah, I'm gonna put the link back up again. Here it is right here. Um, make sure that if you were in the Charlottesville area, that you come out to this event. Now, Richmond isn't far, so if you're in the Richmond area, you can still swing over to Charlottesville and be a part of this event. Um,
Yes.
we we want you to be a part of this. I'm gonna drive down from. I live in Maryland, but I'm still
Mm.
gonna drive down and be a part of this event.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
Okay, she said that they're only an hour apart. We travel an hour to go to DC over here in Maryland, so I don't think that's going to be an issue.
I
We-
know, right? I travel about 2 hours, two and change, depending on traffic.
right, right. Okay, so I'm showing y'all what's going on. We're talking about men's health. We're talking. So if there are any other men on who are watching the show, we would love to hear from you.
Yes.
Um, please post your comments, share your thoughts, because that's what this is all about. We're talking about men's health today. Now, for some of you who came on looking for Annalise, unfortunately, Annalise is in the UK and she's a baby, so we can't have the baby up until midnight trying to be on our show. So we're
Uh,
Annalise on at a different time, so she was not able to join us tonight. But we wish her well.
hmm.
She's a child author, and I love seeing our young people showing their talents. And so I appreciate and I applaud her. So I look forward to talking with her next month um,
Awesome.
when the show goes to the UK. So I'm looking forward to
Awesome. Awesome.
All right. Look, Dr. Miller says she's coming from North Carolina. So we have people coming from all over the East Coast to be a part of this event.
Yes, yes. It's a beautiful thing for us to get together. Look forward to meeting you, Dr. Miller. My family will be with me there as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. I put the link up once more. I want you all to be there. All right. So let's jump. Let's just dive back into this conversation that we were having. Um,
Hmm.
what and I don't want you to tell anybody's personal business because that's privilege. But
Hmm.
is there kind of an overall theme that you see when you're talking to the young men whom you mentor?
Mm. Yes, there are a couple different things. Um, there's a theme of it's not okay to show vulnerability, and I have to use humiliation as a means to demonstrate power. Sometimes that looks like joking. Sometimes that looks like being sarcastic, and or I just shut down. Uh, and so those are things that I run into on a cyclical, excuse me, basis in terms of it manifesting differently, but being kind of along the same thing to answer your question, Dr. Rhonda, that shows up in young men. Uh, Last week we had to talk about using vulgar language and talking about how your words have power, and that the energy that you put out is what you draw back. And just the same way, and I asked them, and this is a group of young men, about five of them. I said, just take a minute. The language you use, how do you feel it impacts your everyday life? And as they ponder, you say, you know what? It's things that happen that I really don't care for. And I said, we have more power than we realize because you have creative power. You're a divine being, whether you realize it or not. So it went to a metaphysical discussion, but in layman's terms, realizing we have a responsibility to use words wisely. And we can use them for our edification in terms of evolving and how we want to be celebrated. Hmm.
Mm, that's a point. Wow. You really seem to unpack a lot with these young men. How do you get them to trust you enough to open up and talk to you?
So I would say the biggest thing is authenticity because young people, whether young ladies and men, they can sense when you come in with the BS. They can
Mm,
see it from a mile away. And I think I'm blessed to have, I'm from North Philadelphia, so it's a city, and we have shared background, but I think authenticity is first and foremost. And I think not, and I say this in all humility about the behavior, you
mm,
know, that I model. So I've been blessed through other mentorship as well, through because I had some men that mentored me as well. My One of my mentors told me you should always have a Paul and a Timothy, somebody who's pouring into you and somebody you're pouring into. So between those key things, authenticity and demonstrating it, I think that allows the foundation for the rapport to be built.
wow. Authenticity. I think often we try to come across. I mean, I hear two things in what you said. The first thing was the authenticity. I
Hmm.
think sometimes we try to come across as authoritative or or as if we have it all. And like you said earlier, sometimes we're afraid as adults to tell young people that we just don't know. And unfortunately, kids can smell authenticity a mile away.
Hmm.
So if you're not coming across as real, they're going to see it and they're going to call you out on it. The other part is I like the fact that even though you are a mentor, you know that you have enough foresight to say, I need a mentor as well, because you can't do it all by yourself.
Yeah.
And you're not always going to have the answer. And sometimes you need somebody who you can kind of unload on, because when you have your own thing going on, and then you are carrying the load of the kids who are trusting you, now you're carrying in all of that, and that becomes heavy. It's right there on your shoulders and it weighs your shoulders down. Now, Mr. Brockington wanted to join the conversation for a little while,
Hmm.
so I'm going to let him in.
Hmm.
Hello, Mr. Brockington.
Hello, brother Brockington. Pleasure to meet you.
Hello, hello. How you doing?
How you doing? I'm great, sir. Yourself?
I'm trying to make sure my volume is up.
Oh,
We
okay.
hear you well.
Okay, okay.
So we were just talking about inauthenticity, and Mr. Curtis was saying that for him, in order for these kids whom he mentors to really get real with him and to tell them their true feelings, he had to be able to come across as authentic, or else they wouldn't trust him.
Hmm.
And that's true. That's very true. Like he said, I used to do stand up, and the audience can always tell when you're nervous or not confident or not genuine. And it's the same thing when you're talking to the youth, because the youth, their wavelengths and attention spans are extremely different.
Hmm.
So when you coming across not genuine, or because I often refer to a phrase that says people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? You can have all the degrees in the world. You can feel like you know everything. But guess what? If you do not come across in an authentic and genuine manner, they're not going to take you seriously. And if they don't take you seriously, it's not going to matter what you say.
Hmm.
Right. Have you found that to be true, Curtis?
Yes, yes, and young men will go as far as to be a little bit explicit in telling you because they'll be insulted by it too. They'll say such and such believe he can come in here and talk at me. That's why we have to talk to them.
Right, right.
Absolutely. And a lot of the times you can change a young man's life because at no other point in his life has anybody really listened to him. At no other point do anybody take him seriously or his opinions or whatever it is, or even care about how he feels about anything. So when you express genuine concern,
Hmm.
genuine interest in his ideas, and give him offer up some solutions sometimes, and sometimes like you guys had said before, sometimes people just need your listening ear because some people just don't get that. That goes for men especially because sometimes, what a man might feel, it doesn't matter to a whole lot of people. You know what I'm saying? So when we're allowed to be transparent, when we're allowed to be heard, it changes a lot in a man's life, in his psyche, and different things like that. Because sometimes some men don't think that they matter.
Hmm. 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 You,
Absolutely.
you said a lot there, brother Brockington. There's sometimes we feel like we're expendable, because a lot of things are what we perceive as a link to what we can do or what we can offer, in contrast to the intrinsic value that we have. You're awesome, brother Brockton, just because of who you are, not because of your job, not because of your pedigree, just because of the man that you are. You know, and
Well, I
that's what we have
appreciate
to
it.
share. Yes,
Now, Dedrick is going to be at the Men's Health event as well. Um,
awesome.
he's Pam said, "Thank you, Mr. Brockington." But he's going to be at the Men's Health event as well. He is going to be one of the vendors there. He has a very wonderful product where he sells gourmet cookies. What are you doing? He is, but what he is not is a digital camera guy. Okay. But no, he does gourmet cookies, so he's going to be at the event as well as a vendor. But I can see him taking part in a lot of these conversations and asking questions and sharing because that's what this is all about.
Hmm. Yes, yes, I love it.
Yep, sure will. Sure will. I want to be right in the mix, you know, because there's so much to say about this subject in men's mental health and transparency, accountability, authenticity, all that stuff. So there's so much to unpack when it comes to all those subjects, especially in the arena of men. So,
Hmm.
and I think it needs to be addressed more. It's one of the most under appreciated topics I can think of.
Hmm. Hmm. Yes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think that we have to consider our men a lot more than what we do. Um I think, but I think that there should be a an actual conversation between the genders. And why I say that is I was telling Dedrick one time I was listening to this panel. I was like, this man just sounded so angry with women. I
Hmm.
mean, everything was about the woman
Wow.
needs to be quiet and listen. The woman needs to be quiet and listen. But the woman wants to be heard as well. So how do the two meet in the middle?
Mm. You could go, brother Brockington, and I'll follow behind you.
Say again.
I know. I would say you can respond first, and I'll follow behind you.
Well, I mean, as I was explaining to Dr. Rhonda, it's like, whenever sometimes men are just passionate, because I know I'm one. If I'm very passionate about a subject, I get into it. And I've been accused of being that angry guy and all this other stuff. And I had to explain to them, and I was on a podcast before, And in the comments, they was talking about how angry I was, and and then of course the infamous question, "Who hurt you? Who hurt you?" So I had to explain to them, nobody hurt me, and if anybody did, I'm way over it. My grandfather taught me about the power of forgiveness a long, long, long time ago. I don't hold on to grudges and stuff like that, because keeping a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting it to hurt the other person. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I think, those conversations have to be had. You know what I'm saying? And I think, when you get really, really passionate, sometimes it's taken often as anger. And sometimes people are so bent on the tone, they forget the message. They're not listening to nothing else. Why is he yelling? Well, is what he's saying true? You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you have to focus in on the actual message and everything. So I think that's a very important part of it too, because we don't often know why a person is as passionate as they are about a particular subject. Sometimes we just have to practice active listening. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it's like that. And yes, sometimes some men are angry and bitter and haven't and haven't gotten over certain things or still upset about things. So yeah, that is a thing, but you just got to take it within its own context.
No.
What do you think, Mr. Curtis?
So I agree with Brother Brockington in terms of focusing on the content. I'll be transparent. I was one, and my wife would tell you this. I was one that was really big on tone because I don't like sarcasm. Um, I'll be honest. If I was 15, somebody said something, you probably get punched in the throat because
Mm.
you grow up. You grow up. You just talk. You don't talk sugar, honey, iced tea. But but in maturity, you realize everybody has a different communication style. So what's really important? What's the takeaway? And if it is a question, rather make an assumption, are you upset? Or what is that? And so that's something that I have to practice. Definitely in marriage. Definitely in marriage. Going on 17 years married. And it has been very tumultuous at different times. We have plenty of heated fellowships, but we had to come back to see, okay, realize we're not the same man and woman that we were when we married in '06 into now. And the same goes with any, whether it's a man or whoever or groups, realizing, okay, what's the dynamic at work here? So yeah, it's about having those sensibilities.
Well, I've got to say, in June, I'm
Hmm.
going to be having another panel discussion on relationships. And I
Hmm.
feel like a lot of what we're saying tonight is going to fit very well in that panel discussion.
Hmm.
Because I
Hmm.
think that's the biggest thing is men and women learning how to talk to each other and understand each other.
Hmm.
I think the game, I mean, the name of the panel is going to be The Game of Love, but I think the game of love can be won when we actually listen to each other.
Hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I thought y'all were going to put a butt or something on it.
Well, I
No.
mean, see, we were practicing active listening.
Yeah. Exactly. 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 Exactly.
I mean, I was waiting for it. I was like, okay, what they about to say?
No, listen, I think it's going to be a great event and discussion, because, like I said, like you just said, it's a lot to unpack. It's a lot of things that men and women have to discuss because there's too much dysfunction among the sexes. There's
Hmm.
too much dysfunction, and we have to get to the root of the dysfunction before we even address the dysfunction itself, because the dysfunction is a result of what the root is. And so we got to get to the root and actually have some real conversations among men and women. And until we can literally practice that active listening and also comprehension, I
Hmm.
don't think that we're going to make any progress if we're not listening to each other and really learning how to talk to each other and not at each other. I think
Hmm.
that's going to be a very, very big thing. And I think that game of love is going to mess around and be a series because
Hmm.
it's going to be something that people want to continue to talk about. And I think really, really people needs to, tune in and actually participate in those discussions.
Hmm. Yeah. Lo-
Absolutely.
I just say, yeah, and love doesn't always look the way we think it's going to look. A lot of the
Mm.
time. I think one of the realest things my mother told me just about love, period, you ain't always gonna like who you love, you know. But if you know that you love them because you're still intentional about showing up. And so that's what we gotta learn because it evolves. So we have to
Oh,
evolve with it.
I need you to expand on that because you just said a mouthful.
But this is Curtis at 45, but Curtis at 35 and 25 was different because not only do we evolve as beings, our dynamic, our communication, our surroundings, all those things morph. And we got to be cognizant of that. And even, you operate differently as a single person married and then as a parent. So just being cognizant of those things and realizing, you know what? Let's see how we can continue to hone these skills. Because just like we practice sports, Brother Bartha, you played a sport too, right? I was a football player, but you played a sport?
For me,
Yeah.
not outside of JV football. No, not really.
But practice is important, right? Practice is paramount,
Absolutely
right?
important.
So that's a takeaway. We got to be diligent about continuing to hone our skills and realizing having that own self discovery. How have I changed? You know, because I'll be honest, in my 40s, I care way about less. And I just leave y'all to your mind. I don't have nothing to give in my pockets. You can guess what those letters are. I don't have nothing to give, only about what's important. And I'll leave it at that. That's that little bit of that North Philly coming out. Sorry.
I hear you on that.
You're from Philadelphia, but you live in Charlottesville now?
Who, me?
Yes.
No, I stay in Chester, 30 minutes south of Richmond.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in Chester.
But you're from Philadelphia?
Yeah, from North Philadelphia. Yeah, northern. My wife from New York. We northerns. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm a southerner myself. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana.
nice. I lived in Leesville. I was stationed at Fort Polk for 4.5 years.
You
Yeah,
Puerto
I'm the upper southern. I'm from South Carolina,
Columbia by chance or what part?
Florence, South Carolina.
Okay, okay. Oh, Dr. Miller said relationships should never be one sided, and that's where the division occurs. Yes, I just checking out Dr. Miller's comment.
I agree.
I think often that does happen where I mean, and it's a balancing act because sometimes I'm so focused on my needs that I don't take his into consideration, or he may be so focused on his needs, he doesn't take mine into consideration. And sometimes it has to be a balance. And that's hard when emotions become involved.
Mm-hmm. But
It's hard. That's why you have to be intentional about what direction you're both going into. You have to be honest about it.
mm-hmm.
Because if you're not honest about it from the beginning, because see, for me, I never operated with the representative. I operated with who I was. Because at in any given time, if you operating on representative status, you know what I'm saying. When that real you come out, you don't know if that person gonna like the real you. So why even operate with the representative? So we have to really have some intentional conversations about expectations and different things that you would like in your life and what you expect like really so I think that's very important.
Absolutely. I put the link to the men's health event on the screen one more time for those of you who want to go ahead and copy that link down so you can look for it. As you can see, it's on Eventbrite. Um, we need you there. This is an important conversation that we all need to be having when it comes to supporting our loved ones, supporting the men in our lives. And then if you want your man to show up a certain way for you, there may be certain things that he needs. So maybe if he goes to this event, he can probably find some of those things that he needs so he can show up for you the way you would like for him to show up. Would you agree with that, Mr. Curtis?
Yes, yes. Hey, if one of us don't win, then none of us win because it's all about us investing in each other. That's the bottom line.
Absolutely. Now, we talked a little bit about this earlier, but if we can revisit, what type of subjects are you going to be discussing at this men's health event? Because this isn't just about spiritual health.
Mm-mm. So we'll be talking about in the context of marriage and relationships, parenting, communicating professionally, because as black men we have a challenging journey when it comes to profession, regardless of what career path you have. We'll talk about integration, our brothers who's coming back out of the prison system, and how to help them get their footing and have that grace. Also communicating with youth as well, and communicating about our health and being transparent about that, so we can continue to be around as long as we can, just to give a couple. So we've been touching on all those things.
That sounds like a powerful conversation. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show to talk about it. Thank you for letting us know who you are. And Dedrick, thank you as well for joining the conversation, because I know
Yes.
that this is a subject that you're very passionate about. So I was like, sure, come on into the show. Let's talk.
Yes. Yes.
So
Thank you. Thank you. Now, I was gonna say thank you. I appreciate you both, and definitely once again shout out to Sister Pamela for having the vision, having the courage to go with it, because I know it had to be daunting. But thank you, Sister Pam, for being obedient in your calling, and getting us everybody involved.
right, absolutely. Now, she did say if you have questions, feel free to send her a message. She is on Facebook as well as Instagram. She is an author. Pam, how many books do you have now? Three? How many? Two? How many books do you have now? Go ahead and let us know in the chat. So while she's working on telling us how many books she has, she is an author, and she had this vision to host a men's health conference. And she invited these men to be a part of the event, and they said yes. Okay, Pam says she has 3 books. That's what I
Nice.
said. That's 3 books. So now, with that being said, Mr. Curtis does not have a book. I know he's in the author lounge, but he does not have a book.
Nah.
I would like to invite him, as well as any other business owners who are watching the show right now, to join my free webinar on Wednesday, where I'm going to be talking to business owners and why every business owner needs a book.
Mm,
If you are a business owner and you have a book, it number one helps you. It sets you up as a industry expert. People will know who you are.
mm,
Two, you're going to wind up getting new clients. Somebody may have read your book, is going to say, I need to talk to Mr. Curtis because he's talking about something that I've always needed help with.
mm,
Three, you can make passive income with your business.
mm,
So in other words, somebody who's up late at night on Amazon, doing that late night shopping because they haven't gone to sleep yet, they're buying your book because maybe they can't sleep because they're going through something that you are talking about in your book.
mm.
Um, Four, I don't know what number I'm on yet anymore. 4 or 5.
That's it. Going
Okay, I'm
for
on 4. Okay.
it.
4, they could actually launch a speaking career where you can go out and speak when you're talking to kids, or when you're talking to youth organizations. You can have your book. So when you've given your speech at the end, you can say, and I talk about all of this in this book.
Mm,
And you're only talking when you're doing a speech, you're only up there for about maybe 10, 15 minutes at the least, sometimes at the most, depending on the organization that invited you out.
mm,
So you're talking about a subject for 15 minutes. It doesn't take 15 minutes to read a book. Sometimes it's a lot longer to read a book.
mm.
So now you can expand on those ideas that you were talking about on stage. So you can reach more people. This is some of the reasons why you should have your own book. So, Mr. Curtis, by this time next year, I want to be able to read your book.
I received that, and I thank you for sharing. I never looked at it through that lens before, so thank you.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome.
Yes, yes.
And Dedrick, I'm talking to you too. You need a book too.
Oh, I'm gonna be at the workshop. I'll be working on it. I'm working on my ebook, trying to finish my first ebook now. So that my book is going to be coming. What I'm going to do is I'm going to speak into existence as it being finished by the end of the year. I'm gonna put a specific date on that, but yes, that's what I'm shooting for.
Okay. Okay. I'm hearing you and I'm walking with you.
All right.
All right, so for any of you who would like to be a part of this free webinar that I'm doing on Wednesday, just make sure you reach out to me on the Meet the World Image Solutions Facebook page or on the Instagram page, TikTok, YouTube. I'm on all of that. But talk with me, and I will send you the link so you can sign up. And let me see, maybe I can go ahead and put the link. I'm trying to do so much. I'll be hosting the show, trying to do links. Just so much, so much. But I'm gonna find this link for you while we're still on here. Oh, it's 8 o'clock. Okay, I'm gonna put the link in the chat after the show. But I want you all to be a part of this webinar because some very important information out there, and you guys are doing amazing things. And we need to expand your territories. We need more people to know about the ideas that you're sharing, about the talents that you have, and you reach some more people. There may be somebody who needs a healing or who needs inspiration, and they'll get it from the book that you write, even if it's a cookbook. You can do the same thing with the cookbook. My good friend Diana Riley, who was on earlier, has two books. One of them was called Lessons Learned in the Kitchen. The other one's called Grace at the Kitchen Table. But it's basically inspirational books with recipes in them. So you can do that. So I don't want you to think you don't have a story to tell or you don't have something to share, because you absolutely do. All right. So that is all I have for tonight. Is there do you have any parting words, Curtis?
Be blessed. Come on out to the event as we've been sharing. And much love. Be safe out here. Be diligent and live your best life. And it's okay to not be okay. And you deserve better. And you are more than enough.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Pam, for spearheading this wonderful event. And we look forward to seeing you in June. It is going to be a packed house. We're speaking that into existence right now.
Yes.
All right. Dedrick, do you have anything you'd like to say?
If if you're feeling down and out, eat a really good cookie, and I got really good cookies. All right, so so you can check me out on IG at Mr. Craves Cookies. That's all I can say. If not for anything else, it'll make you forget about your sorrows for just a few minutes while you eat the cookies. All right, so you good.
Yes.
He will have those cookies at the Men's Health event.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, Pam said yes to the cookies. Okay, so we will see you all June 10th in Charlottesville, Virginia at the Men's Health event. And the link to the event is in the chat. I'm putting it on the screen one more time in case you didn't get it. Make sure that you get your tickets. And that is all we have. Thank you, everybody. Y'all have a wonderful evening. God bless you. And I will see you next week when we have two more authors. And we're going to keep this thing rolling. We are actually all booked up for the rest of April and all of May. We are booked up. We are going into June for the show.
Wow.
So the word is spreading, y'all. The word is spreading.
Awesome.
All right. Thank y'all. Y'all have a wonderful evening. God bless you and good night.
God bless. Good night.
And I'll see you all tomorrow on Black Authors Matter TV.
Yes.